Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for the final entry in our SeeUnity webinar series on enterprise mobility. Today we're going to be talking about untethering mobilized ECM data using SeeUnity Slices. My name is Brant Henney and I'm the marketing director at SeeUnity. I'd like to wish everybody a happy Halloween. Thanks for joining us today on October 31st, and thanks for joining us for this last webinar in this series. This is a quick recap. On the 17th, I did a session that covered overall strategies for enterprise mobility. It was not product-oriented. If any of you on the webinar today are interested in planning out a mobile strategy but aren't sure of some of the concerns, I definitely encourage you to take a look at that recorded session. Last week, we did have a product-oriented session where we did a demo of our flagship mobile product, and we also covered a solution story with the International Monetary Fund. And today, we'll be talking about SeeUnity Slices. All of the sessions were recorded and put on our Facebook page, and attendees from all three sessions are being entered for a chance to win an iPad 3, and we'll announce the winner on that page as well. So let's get started. We'll do a quick recap of ECM mobility, some of the stats, concerns, things to look at. As I mentioned, for more in-depth coverage of that, you can take a look at one of the previous sessions. And then we'll be getting into the challenge of untethering mobilized ECM data, and we'll be taking a look at what I mean by mobile data being tethered. Then I'll be talking about how we learned from a desktop application called Content Connect, and then we'll be doing a quick demo of the upcoming product SeeUnity Slices, which should be available through the App Store in the next couple of days. Just a quick recap. I shared a bunch of stats in the first webinar, but probably the biggest one to pay attention to is in workplace spending alone, $10 billion in iPads by the end of 2012. So definitely a huge growing market. And clearly that's because ECM is a natural fit. If you think about the tools for today's knowledge worker, you need your email, you need your calendar, you need the ability for text messaging, contacting, and you need enterprise content. As we move into that market and connect this data source to these tools, these devices, the considerations are making sure we're pleasing our users so they don't rebel against us, making sure the content remains secure, making sure we understand the true costs, and then understanding and making sure that we're picking the right user experience based on the usability requirements for anybody that might be using these applications. A quick recap of the SWOT analysis I did that week. Strengths. When you have these mobile devices, you have real-time availability, which means your users have the benefit of making decisions faster and making decisions that are getting the benefit of that information, as opposed to guessing and hoping that you're right. Weaknesses, frequently we underestimate the total cost of a mobile strategy. Some of the durability issues with these devices as they become lighter and more elegant, device management. Opportunities here are really being able to lead from in front with the bring your own device trend that's happening, making sure that your users prefer the apps that you provide them as opposed to what they're using on their own. Low cost of being able to go out and try apps very easily as opposed to traditional models of testing out and using trial software, and vendors being open to input. Some of the threats are if we alienate our user base, we can wind up making that bring your own device trend even more pronounced and chaotic. If we don't consider all of the security issues, that can become a threat. And then obviously data and device loss, and not really being 100% certain on the future of some of the apps and strategies just because we're so early as a market in the roadmap space. So let's move on to specifically what I had been talking about with untethering mobilized ECM data. And we can understand this in terms of traditional ECM applications. So, we could take SeeUnity Mobile as an example. Provides access to enterprise content through a mobile device. We're embedding that native experience so that you can search, browse, sort, and filter content. Once you've found the content you're looking for, you can view it. You can view its metadata. You can go ahead and edit that in a third-party application. You can create new data and upload it to your enterprise content management system, profile it if you've got a good application. But that all requires real-time, continued online access, obviously, with the main exception being a checkout in offline mode. So if we used our example from last week, a knowledge worker from the IMF might be traveling overseas. They know they will want to consult a document while they're on the plane, so they check out a document for offline use, and then that's still there once they're on the plane and connectivity has been interrupted. And then once it's restored, if they've made changes, they can go ahead and upload that. So with all of those examples in terms of usability, we sort of have this concept of tethered connectivity. So except for downloaded content, you have to be connected continuously to be able to interact with that information. And that seems obviously intuitive, but that can present some challenges. So for the connectivity challenged, that can be field technicians, that can be global enterprises where there's different levels of connectivity in different offices. This doesn't necessarily mean connectivity is gone, but it could be hampered, or we have poor bandwidth. International travelers. And some of those issues, in addition to not being able to access information easily, is data plan usage. So if we're using phone-based plans for accessing information, particularly if we're using large files, we're using a per unit of bandwidth as the data plan, that can quickly create some escalating costs. And then the inability to anticipate content demand, and that really comes into not knowing what content you're going to need at any point in time. And as we think about large documents and contracts, for instance, we have a lot of interest from the legal field regarding our mobile applications. If you think about legal briefs, contracts, large scanned documents, frequently it can take a long time to search for those documents, and you may actually have to individually open and preview documents to see if that's actually what you're looking for. These are large files. It doesn't matter how powerful your tablet is or your smartphone. If you've got bandwidth issues, that can really can impact productivity and make these mobile applications work against you. That's not really unique to mobile devices. That would be the same as if you were working on a laptop. And I mention laptop because SeeUnity Slices came directly from some of the lessons we learned from building a desktop application called Content Connect. What Content Connect provides is desktop to ECM synchronization. And essentially, we allow you to map objects and directories from an ECM system and mirror them over to your local desktop. And originally, we had designed this for selective syncing. You might have a folder here, a folder there, but really designed to improve performance and create a Dropbox experience that would allow you to cut out an ECM client for just basic Dropbox use, just very direct, and allow you to pull content down. And what we had seen from customer demand and interest was actually a push to sync entire repositories for offline use. So that might be an entire cabinet or an entire library or workspace being pulled over and mirrored onto a onto a user desktop, and that actually required some changing and optimizing of the application to handle large volumes of sometimes very large files. And that led to development of slices. So SeeUnity Mobile was already in early deployment, and that's obviously our cross-repository ECM user experience, which works on the iPhone and iPad. And we realized that we had that potential to take this idea of offloading large volumes of enterprise content and putting it onto a mobile device so that you can take it anywhere you want. And when we discussed this with users both of SeeUnity Mobile and Content Connect, we got a strong interest that that would actually be something that would be quite useful and something that's not already out there on the market. So what do I talk, when I say slices, we've actually named the application from this concept of what a slice is in the app. And slices are objects that represent, they can be anywhere from a folder to multiple objects, and they provide, it's high volume synchronization between an ECM system and a mobile device. And we support gigabytes of data being downloaded and hundreds of thousands of documents at one time. And it's really optimized for consuming data and for high volumes of documents. If you want to have a fuller, richer user experience where you're editing and uploading content, viewing metadata properties, then that's where you're going to want to use something like SeeUnity Mobile. This is really designed to bring a large volume of content down onto your tablet so that you can search and view that content with the fastest performance possible. And the content is configured into slices. That's done so by a user administrator. And the slices can be, as I mentioned, any object in an ECM repository hierarchy. That can be anywhere from a folder to an entire library or a cabinet. And it can also be a combination of multiple objects actually being pulled from multiple repositories. So let's say you had a Documentum cabinet and some related information on a SharePoint site. You could actually grab that data as an administrator and create a slice that combines all of that information into a single slice. So it's easy for me to talk about that. It's a little bit harder to imagine what that means. So let's shift gears and see if we can't do a quick demo and take a look at slices. So let me go ahead and share my iPad. It'll take just a minute here to get it sharing, and let's see if we can. All right. Looks like we can now see my iPad. This is a live demo. You're taking a look at what's on my iPad right now. Again, please use the chat window if you have any issues with the audio or seeing what's supposed to be on the screen. So we're looking at the Slices app. We're here at the home screen. And as you see on the left-hand side, we have a Slice Explorer of 2 open slices. And we can see here that neither of them are synced. Let's go over to settings very quickly here. I just wanted to show you here that we have user authentication here for security. And here we have a gateway connection to our demo server. We'll go back here and take a look at these 2 slices, which have been configured by an administrator and represent objects that have been collected into slices over on the server side. So right now this has not been synced, but we can see here there's an area for description of what would be in this slice. That is also configured by the administrator, so it can be highly customized to each specific slice. And then down at the bottom we have profile data. And if you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner we have a sync wheel. I'll go ahead and press that. It'll ask me if I want to sync that. And that's because as some of these slices can be extremely large, while this app is designed to pull high volumes of data onto your local tablet device, your iPad, that process, if it's high volume, can take a large amount of time. So if you're dealing with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of documents, gigabytes of data, that can actually take a long time. So it's important to sort of understand that ahead of time. Of course, you see the pause button up here. If we decided we wanted to pause that or discontinue, we could go ahead and do that. Fortunately, this is just a small demo area. And as you can see now, we've pulled over data and brought it down from the server. We go into this folder and we can see here we've got the documents that are inside of it. There's also a star here, so if we want to go and make this a favorite, I'll click that up on the upper right-hand side. You can see on the inside here we've got these documents. Now, one of the things you would not see that you might see in SeeUnity Mobile is the ability to view metadata. So again, if you want some of that more robust real-time functionality, an application like SeeUnity Mobile is more for you. This is really designed for being able to pull this high-volume information. Now, I can't disconnect my wireless connection because that's what I'm using to connect Slices to my desktop to demo it. But if I wasn't demoing it for you, I could disconnect the wireless and I would still have access to all this information. This has all been downloaded locally to my device. We can see here I can make this document a favorite if I want. I could choose to open it. I could send it via email if I wanted to do that. So you do have some options beyond just reading it. You can open documents and you can edit them. The limitation with Slices is that you're not going to be able to save it back to Slices and push it back up. This is, at least for the time being, primarily meant for high-volume consumption of information. We can go into full document view here, and we have the ability to get quick snapshots and navigate quickly through the document, as well as we still have an open-in feature here. You can send it to print if you've got a network printer. So if you're taking a look at what you've got here is really a very slick application for taking information offline. Favorites are not synced yet. So we've been able to open, find documents, open them. We can open them in a third-party application if we want to. We can bring it all offline as needed. And then as users or as system administrators or power users on the other end add new content, you can resynchronize this slice. So this doesn't just sit here. As new content is added, you can synchronize. So if you know that, let's say, once a week there's going to be substantial changes that you need to be updated on, you can resynchronize that. Additionally, if additional slices are being added, you can update the slice configuration there, and that will pull down any new slices. Obviously, during the course of this demo, no new slices were added to our demo server, so things shouldn't look any different. We can go ahead and delete local content as well, and in doing that, we'll basically wipe slices, remove all of the local slices, and then you would be able to remove all that local data if you needed to remove it from your device. That's just a quick overview of Slices. And let's switch back to our presentation. Hopefully that gave you a good overview of what you can do. And essentially you're taking all of that enterprise content and you're bringing it down onto your device. And it allows you to search for that content as needed, sort and view, filter, but essentially it's really designed to allow you to view that content, take it anywhere, whether you've got an internet connection or not. Let's take a look at a quick use case from one of our earliest adopters and next steps. So if we think about the use case, organizations with dispersed field teams that require access to both high volume documents and files that are large, so graphical files, CAD, TIFF, PDF scans, etc., and teams that are going to have difficulty anticipating ahead of time which documents they need. If you know ahead of time you're only going to need a handful of documents and you know which ones they are, you can use a solution like SeeUnity Mobile and selectively download that. If you don't, then an application like Slices might be more helpful. Also, organizations that are sensitive to data plans and can't be sure they're always going to have local access from their devices. One of our soon-to-be adopters is Marin Municipal Water District, and they're currently using Content Connect. And essentially what they use it for is they have field technicians that go out and they monitor, measure, repair if needed, any number of different devices, machinery, facilities out across a very large dispersed area. And essentially they go out into the field for weeks at a time, and they're never going to know ahead of time which schematics or diagrams they're going to need, because there's literally thousands of different pieces of collateral that they're responsible for measuring and keeping in good shape. So initially, they've been using Content Connect to go ahead and bring laptops out to the field. And they would download basically entire libraries of technical documents, PDF scans, TIFFs, what have you, of these devices. They've been very interested in Slices and have been reviewing and commenting on the beta versions. The final release version has been submitted to the Apple App Store, and they're planning on adopting and implementing it as soon as it's available. So that's an example of an organization where they need these large volumes of documents. They're high volume files, and they had difficulty anticipating ahead of time. And this way they can literally take their entire enterprise content management system out into the field with them and use it as a resource. So we've talked about Slices in specific, but overall in mobility strategy, I'd just like to conclude by reviewing what are the good ways to go about it, whether you want to use an application like Slices that's pulling repositories down, or using SeeUnity Mobile that's going in and accessing and interacting with your repository in real time. So you need to understand the risk and rewards. Don't take my SWOT analysis for it, make your own. You need to define your objectives and scope ahead of time. You don't necessarily need to do everything all at once. Break apart what your mobility needs are and move step by step. Identify your requirements and then find apps that meet those requirements. Don't fall for a slick, shiny app that seems really nice, push it out to the organization, and then find out that it's not going to meet your needs. And definitely, I'll tell you right now, there is no killer app that combines both enterprise content management integration and content editing. Next area would be to make sure you do a true cost analysis. So understand training costs, understand data plan costs, replacement costs, what the cost will be if users don't follow standard practices and information gets leaked. Having a standpoint of being agile yet patient, and this is because this is a moving, there's a moving end zone, and as problems are being solved, like mobile device management, delivery of applications, new problems are emerging, so it's important to be patient. Security, I can't stress this enough. Regardless of what industry you're in, security is important. You need to make sure that any solution you have is going to meet your security needs. And to think about apps that provide metrics as a resource. So for instance, if you're going to be using an enterprise content management application, you want something that will do some audit tracking so that you can see how the application is being used, what content is being accessed with it. A smart app will provide that information back to you so that you can improve how these apps are being used. So immediate next steps, I would build those requirements as I mentioned. If you've got a services provider, a services vendor that you work with, interface with them. We've definitely found that with our partners, they're looking to become experts in mobility as well as enterprise content management is merging with that market. Definitely explore all the options on the market. One of the advantages of the App Store is that you can go ahead and try trial versions of most applications or use a light version very easily and go try things out for yourself. And talk to your users. Part of Bring Your Own Device is that users have become very real, credible experts in a lot of ways. So they're an asset there. So we're close to the end of the session here. What I would encourage you to do is please go ahead and like us on Facebook. As I mentioned, we'll be drawing the winners via Facebook. And we've also had the previous sessions recorded later today or tomorrow. This session will be available there. Go to the App Store, iTunes. SeeUnity Mobile is already available as a free trial version. Slices will be announced within the week. We'll be pushing out a press release as soon as that's available. And I would encourage people, if you're working with other app vendors, not necessarily SeeUnity, it might be your ECM vendor if they've got a mobile app. If there are developers of content editing apps, I would go ahead and contact those people as soon as possible if you've got specific concerns. The market is not yet mature. I know, speaking for SeeUnity, we definitely are seeking out customer input, and we're holding closed session focus groups with engaged customers that are communicating to us what they want to see in apps. And this market is immature enough that there's a level of input there that's not always going to be there as this market starts to mature and we see versions solidify. So thank you, everybody. I'll open this session up to questions now. If you think of something later, or you'd like to have a more in-depth demo of Slices where you can request ask to drive the app, we can certainly do that. Just go ahead and email me. That's brant.henney@seeunity.com. And as I mentioned, we will be doing our iPad drawing later today after the session, and I'll post the winner onto Facebook. And at this point, I'd just like to thank everybody and open it up to any questions. So if you've got questions, feel free to go ahead and use the questions or chat window, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability now. All right, well, it doesn't look like we've got any questions right now. So again, if you think of anything or have any concerns about the application or enterprise mobility, again, I encourage you to email me and I will get back to you as soon as possible. So thank you. This concludes our webinar series on enterprise mobility, and this concludes today's session. Thanks.